Hey, it's Thomas here, and today we're going to be having a look at Reef Octopus's Elite Protein Skimmers. If you're looking for a high-end, feature-rich protein skimmer that is super quiet, skims wonderfully, and looks incredible, with a reliable DC pump, built-in float switch to prevent overflows, and is both Ozone and Apex ready from one of the most reputable skimmer manufacturers out there, then check out the Elite INT series from Reef Octopus. While all protein skimmers utilize a process called foam fractionation to trap waste, there are a multitude of options out there, from simple AC-driven skimmers that get the job done well on a budget, all the way up to high-end, feature-rich, super quiet DC controllable skimmers crafted to meet the needs and desires of even the most demanding hobbyists. Reef Octopus's Elite line of skimmers is definitely the latter, being a top-shelf, feature-rich, super quiet skimmer using their very own and very reliable VarioS DC pump, while also incorporating built-in redundancy, 0 to 10 volt control port, a Venturi with dedicated ozone port, and an equally impressive build quality to match, and somehow is still priced very competitively compared to other high-end skimmers. So with that said, let's get it out of the box and have a closer look at this skimmer. In the box, you'll find the skimmer body, the skimmer cup, the air silencer, the disassembled riser pipe, the Venturi and pump connections, the VarioS DC pump and controller, the float switch, silicone tubing, O-rings, the skimmer cup drain elbow, and the power supply. The Elite INT was very easy to assemble, the fit and finish is precise, and everything goes together smoothly, which is actually what I've come to expect from any Reef Octopus product, but the Elite definitely has an even more robust premium feel with the PVC components like the base, neck coupler, and lid. The skimmer body is a beautiful wine bottle shape to provide the bubbles with a smooth transition from that diffuser plate at the bottom all the way up the body to the collection cup. The riser pipe is capped with the air silencer, which looks really sleek and refined. The silencer itself has a dense foam insert to keep things super quiet, and the VarioS DC pump and controller match not only the build quality, but the visual aesthetic as well. These skimmers also include all of the basic features you'd expect in a higher end skimmer, like a removable skimmer cup, drain port for using a waste collector, 15 and 60-minute feed timers, and rubber feet for reducing any vibrations. But there are actually a few really nice features on this Elite INT that you don't usually see. Firstly, the Venturi has its own dedicated ozone port, which is a very nice touch and will really appeal to anyone who wants a skimmer ready to run with their ozone system. Secondly, the lid of the skimmer cup includes a float switch to prevent overflowing, and the controller has its own 0 to 10 volt port for use with an external controller, which I'll touch on in a little bit. There are actually 3 models of the Elite INT for tanks ranging between 75 gallons to 250 gallons based on how most reefers will use them. They do need a bit more space in your sump with that external pump, with the smallest model coming in with a 10.5 by 11.5 inch footprint. Thankfully, for those of us that have space constraints, there are also super space-saving models of the Elite line. And while they lack the ozone port of the INT skimmers, they use an ingenious inverted internal VarioS pump so that the bubbles are produced at the very bottom of the skimmer body to provide the most possible contact time, even with the internal pump, which saves quite a bit of space without sacrificing on performance. Speaking of performance, to dial in these skimmers, there are 2 points of control. Firstly, the VarioS pump has a controller with 5 preset pump speeds to dial in the amount of air you need to produce a stable foam. Then you can adjust the wedge pipe within the riser to adjust the water height in the skimmer to dial in how the foam is collected in the skimmer cup. The riser pipe also has a dial so that you can easily return to the best setting for your needs after cleaning the skimmer. On the note of cleaning the skimmer, if for whatever reason you forget to clean out the skimmer cup in time, or you add something to the tank the skimmer doesn't exactly agree with and it causes it to overflow, the Elite line has a built-in redundancy to protect you from an overflowing skimmer so you don't end up with all that nasty skimming going back into the sump or pouring down the sides of the skimmer and splashing on other equipment. If the liquid in the cup gets too high, it'll lift the switch and shut off the pump. Once you clean up the skimmer cup and the float switch is released, it'll allow it to turn back on. You can also choose to turn this feature off if you prefer not to use it right on the controller. Personally, I would definitely use it. It's a fantastic redundancy to have and has saved many reefers from unnecessary, very messy and gross skimmer mishaps and all that stuff going either back into the tank or everywhere else. So yeah, I would use it. And this is also one of the very few skimmers I've ever seen that has this feature already built into it. So points to Reef Octopus for the Elite line. Wow, I like it. When it's time to dump out that skimmer cup full of nasty skimmate, you can give the cup a twist and lift it off. This is definitely a feature I prefer over the cups that are just wedged in with an O-ring. There's way less chance of accidental spillage. You'll also need to unplug the float switch from the pump controller to take the lid with you to the sink. Personally, I'd recommend cleaning the float switch anytime that you're going to be cleaning out and rinsing the skimmer cup. That way you always know that it's working perfectly and it's protecting your tank. When it comes time to disassemble the whole skimmer for maintenance, everything comes apart, so you won't have any trouble getting into every nook and cranny, and the high quality thumb screws are buttery smooth to turn in those PVC components and also accommodate a screwdriver, so you should have no trouble at all taking it apart and putting it back together. The VarioS DC pump requires no tools to disassemble for cleaning, which is really nice, and I love that the venturi and the outlet pipes thread on nicely rather than just press fit into place. And like I mentioned earlier, the VarioS controller also has a 0 to 10 volt port, so you can use your Elite skimmer with your Apex or other external controller. And on that note, Randy has an awesome video you can check out right here going over how you can use your Apex to get the most out of your skimmer. There are a whack load of tips in there and a whole bunch that I never really would have thought of, but I've got a controller and I've got a compatible skimmer, so now I'm gonna give it a shot because they're good ideas. Check it out.